Hi again, Westfield Weather Club. I hope you had a nice 2 days. Did you track any of your weather over the last couple days or watch your barometer? I watched mine and I thought it looked like it went up a little bit one day and down a little another day. So I put a sticker under each of my sun and my clouds. I also watched the clouds. I really like to watch the clouds. And I noticed some of those really tall, big clouds in the sky. And I also noticed the sky just stayed really gray, like a whole cloud cover. This week, we're going to learn about the water cycle. And the water cycle is what makes the clouds. So, if we look in the book, right here it talks about moisture. Moisture makes clouds. When water evaporates from the rivers, so when it gets sucked up out of the water that we have on land, lakes, rivers, mud puddles, brooks, a pond, it's called vapor, and it moves up with the warm air and forms little droplets of water, which are also called condensation, and those form clouds. So as those clouds grow, we get big rain clouds like what you see, or we get a whole cloud cover where we don't see any blue sky. And once those clouds get filled up enough, they will rain down. So I have an interesting question for you. If our rain came from the ocean where it's salt water, do you think our rain would taste salty? We're going to find that out today. You can go to week 3 of your packet, and it has all of your materials listed. You're going to need a large bowl. I happen to have a glass one. You can use a plastic one or whatever you have. You need a small plastic dish. You'll need hot water, which I will get when it's time. You'll need some salt, some plastic wrap, and some ice cubes, which I just happen to put in my little dish. So, your first step is going to be to add your hot water into your big dish. The hotter your water is, the quicker the experiment's going to work. So, first thing you're going to do is add your hot water, which I've put in a dish, but you can do right in the kitchen. And you're going to pour it into your large bowl. You want to fill it, I don't know, maybe halfway? A little more than halfway up. And then you're going to take the salt, and you're going to add enough salt in there that you want your water to taste salty, because we want to know if ocean water rains down salty rain. So then your next step is going to be to take your dish. I'm going to set my ice cubes on the table for a second. Take your smaller dish, set it on top, and just let it float in there. And then you're going to take your plastic wrap, and you're going to cover your large dish. And depending on how big your dish is, you might need 2 pieces of plastic wrap to cover it. So we are actually creating the water cycle right in a dish in our house. All right, once it's all covered good, you will then take your ice cubes and set them on top of your plastic wrap. Just a couple is all you need. I think I had too many. And then you're just going to let it set for a little bit. And what's going to happen inside this bowl is the hot water is going to start to evaporate up towards the plastic. And then you're going to start to see little water droplets form on top of your plastic. And then it should rain down, and hopefully we can catch some of that rainwater in our little dish. So some of the words that we're talking about are right here on your week 3 page. And there's evaporation, which is when the water on the ground in the lakes, the rivers, the puddles, it starts to get sucked up. It turns into gas and it gets sucked up into the sky. Once it's up in the sky, it starts to condensate, which means creates little crystal-like bits that make up, when they're all together, that make up our clouds. And then once our clouds are so full and so heavy and they can't hold any more water, they start to rain down. And that's called precipitation. So we're creating evaporation, we're going to see some condensation, and hopefully we'll see some precipitation. So this will take anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes. And so I'm going to let mine set and we'll check it back in a few minutes. It's only been about 3 minutes at my house and I'm already starting to see some condensation building up in my dish and a little bit of precipitation running down the sides. I don't have formed water drops on top yet, but they're definitely starting. And I wanted to make sure to tell you, make sure your small dish that is floating isn't touching the plastic wrap on the top, because you want the condensation to be able to create above your small dish to collect the water. Also, while you're waiting for your water cycle to have full effect, you have a coloring page in your packet, or that was emailed to your parents. If you have that printed out, you can work on coloring that. There's a small picture of it on the back of week 3, and it's just a picture of the water cycle and the words that we learned. I'll check back in a few minutes to see if I have enough condensation to drink out of my small dish. All right, guys, it's been about 15 minutes since we started our water project. I am going to show you now how we're going to take it off and test the precipitation that fell into our bowl. I hope we have enough to drink. So you're going to very carefully pull up your plastic wrap, maybe pull up on one side and then the other. You want to try not to tip over your small dish that's inside. Your ice cubes probably melted on top like mine did, so you might have some water on top. Once your plastic wrap is off, you can just set it right down in your dish and take out your little dish. Do you have any water in yours? I have some in mine. You probably can't see it on there, but I'm going to test it. Let's see if it's salty. Mine's not salty at all. Hot, but not salty. Now, that's because when the water evaporates from the earth or gets sucked up to the clouds, it just sucks up the water particles, not the salt. So even if our rain comes from the ocean water, it won't be salty. I hope you learned something today. I can't wait to see you next week.